one message to investors who are listening to this is that there's a tsunami coming because this has been the tipping point. But I think there's still a certain amount of population in Vietnam that actually thinks we're not yet upgraded because of the whole, interim thing. So I think what has happened since the upgrade is just a digestion. If like you're eating a wonderful meal. Every time I'm here, I feel like I'm sort of lost in a scene of a movie that it's surreal. I think maybe that's where I start with you, because I think even today, I still think there are so many misperceptions of what the upgrade was and what it wasn't. I'm going to start with the first controversial, sensitive question is, how close were we? And I'm going to use the analogy that I used in Saigon with you. I'm like a student, and you just gave me an A.
Yeah.
But because of my competitiveness, because of my anxiety, I really want to ask my teacher, was it close?
So do you remember when we met? You mentioned 12 months ago.
Yeah.
We did our first side chat, and I was going through the criteria, the 9, and then Vietnam at the time achieving 7. Now 12 months on, as of the October announcement, so Vietnam has passed that 2. So technically, Vietnam's already passing the 9.
Yes.
That makes Vietnam the secondary emerging market, status achievement, right?
Yes.
Really get Vietnam over the finishing line in terms of the status,
Yes.
right? And that's super important to stress that, because that's what the market needs to know. As a headline, Vietnam is now secondary emerging market status within the FTSE framework.
But I think there's still a certain amount of population in Vietnam that actually thinks we're not yet upgraded because of the whole, interim thing, and then September inclusion. Again, I think it's a confusion. But are we or are we not upgraded? Can you just give us the definitive answer?
Yeah, so I mentioned about the technical
Yes.
passing. So that's confirmed. Vietnam already passed the 9 criteria
Okay.
that we asked for in terms of a secondary emerging market status, right?
Yes.
Then you have the practical element of it, which is the integrating Vietnam into, we call the global benchmark, the FTSE global benchmark.
Yeah.
And that's very practical. Practical in the way that, ultimately the index tracker tracking those global benchmarks has to include Vietnam into that benchmark.
Yeah.
And that's the practical implementation. There's a number of factors, and that's 1 year notice period, pretty standard for in the past. So that's the practical element of it. Cannot be done on day one.
Okay.
1 year notice period, and then we need to get everyone prepared for that day.
We have officially been upgraded. Okay. Now it's really just about implementing that upgrade. I think that's what I'm trying to help some market participant understand, whether this is just a normal process of implementation, or was there a weakness in the Vietnam situation that forced FTSE to give us a checkpoint and a 1 year out.
I think the 1 year implementation notice is absolutely necessary.
Okay.
And it has been done in the past for other market upgrade. So we have to stress that. Basically, we're moving one market from a frontier bucket into the secondary emerging market bucket.
Yes.
This kind of leap from the frontier to EM is not an overnight thing. So you have different type of investors. You have investors on the frontier, which they need to unwind their position.
Yes.
You have investors which focus on EM, need to now look at Vietnam as a brand new market. So we talk about what? Account opening.
Yes.
We talk about getting the operational readiness ahead of the implementation date. And that's actually takes a lot of time.
Got it.
So it's a preparation 1 year period that we typically observe that's needed for frontier moving to emerging market status. Is that global broker model that index tracker require to replicate the index effectively and smoothly. And what I meant by that is, if you think about the existing investors, right? They're already tracking, replicating the index, through the EM, the emerging market portfolio.
Yeah.
Vietnam now upgraded, so they simply just wanted to incorporate Vietnam into that portfolio.
Yes.
And the most effective way and the most kind of smooth transition way of doing it is literally just bring Vietnam into the existing operation.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm an end investor, I said to my broker, okay, so on the day you trade Vietnam for me, and this is the portfolio. So what is required? Because at the moment, in order to trade Vietnam, you need to register local, and then you go through this paperwork.
Yeah.
Now, we are asking an optionality for these index trackers to be able to continue their global broker model through global broker, then local broker, in order to replicate the benchmark.
Got it. Okay.
Without having to onboard the local brokers, because there's a number of paperwork to be done and the process becomes more complex. Now, this is actually not unique, what we're asking in terms of EM market. Indonesia, Taiwan, for example, has been kind of running that model. And I know that SSI kind of running that for years as well. I mean, this is not unique to some of the brokers in Vietnam.
I think what you're reminding us and what FTSE is really reminding us is a heart of the situation, which is global investors, the mass majority of them, which is 99.99999% of them, none of them are solely focused on Vietnam. In fact, the majority of them are investing everywhere else in the world, and now they're thinking about Vietnam. So all they're asking is, don't force us as a big investor to make special accommodation for an exciting, but it's still a very small slice of our work. Whereas the foreign investors coming in, they have to worry about countries after countries, regulators after regulators, compliance after compliance. And so I think from what I understand you're saying is, at least at this phase of our development, the foreign investors want us to make it as easy as possible for them to invest in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Is that simplified enough?
Easy and effective. So then we'll put Vietnam in a very sweet spot in terms of, if that's done, can you imagine other type of investor would actually come in to look at Vietnam as a very viable market.
Is that right? Because I assume if over time the Vietnam story becomes more scale, bigger, more important, then those same global investors will be willing to put the effort in going much more direct into the market.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ultimately, they need to get to know the market.
And I call it the science part of it. But there has to be an art part of it. It's like there has to be the art layer of the upgrade process that you have to work and FTSE has to work so that the global community can feel comfortable with Vietnam, that we don't appreciate.
Now, I guess the important point I learned from this journey is having Vietnam is a great story. And the fact that I'm coming here in the past 2 years quite often, and I discovered this is actually a little gem, and things happen, right? Things actually happen in the past 2 years. The infrastructure change, the very stabilized government leadership, and then, obviously the tariff war, but it turns out to be a very good outcome for Vietnam, liquidity, the GDP. All of this is good thing happening here, and I can see it. People can see it. Everyone is very excited. But if you take this, you carry this, when you go and tell the story outside even Vietnam or Asia, I think if I could maybe use, I don't know, lack of a better word, the education of what's happening here need to take much further than it is now. So what I meant by that is there's so much, like, in terms of great things are happening in Vietnam, but you mentioned this globally, the US, the China, the EU's is really taking up everyone's time on a
Yes.
day-to-day basis.
Yes.
How do you actually bring that Vietnam story to some investor sitting outside of Asia? Vietnam has to do a much better job. And in that sense, what I meant is, I can be the one sharing all this experience to the end investor. But Vietnam also, like including yourself,
Yeah.
has to take that story
I,
global.
I almost feel like I have this Ferrari that the world doesn't really know too much about. And because the world is so distracted with Teslas, and I'm making bad analogies, but I like analogies. And I had the privilege of telling the world about my Ferrari. So that's why I think that this job is really interesting, because again, I, like you and many of people, come from the outside world, and I realized if I was a big portfolio manager sitting anywhere in the world, US, Hong Kong, Singapore, China being what it is,
Yeah.
will capture, I don't know, 60-70% of my imagination at the time. Or actually US would, and then China,
Yeah.
and then Japan, and then
Yeah.
India, and then Europe periodically. So I think in Vietnam, based on working with you, and what I'm hearing you is, we have to do a much better job marketing ourselves. I think we have to be much more, I don't want to use the word aggressive because it implies certain things, but I think we have to be more consistent,
Yeah.
and exacting in the way we tell our story, because we have an amazing story. And the market has done nothing but gone flat or slightly down since then. So if I was a normal investor in Vietnam, I would say, what the hell? Come on, like I've been waiting for this moment all my life, and our market feels weak since the upgrade. So I want to get your reaction to that. And is that normal? So what would you be saying to these investors?
So a stock market, performance, it depends on so many factors, right?
Yes.
Ultimately, this if you look at even history, there's hard to pin down exactly what it is. I mean, you probably have a lot more, to share than I do. You have
Can
the
I
first.
take a bite of this before I answer that question? Based on my experience and training about markets, healthy markets are a discounting mechanism, i.e., i.e., what the markets are doing today should really be discounting a future direction, belief, event, earnings, important things like that. So I actually think the Vietnam market being up, whatever, it's up year to date, 25-30%, has been discounting the potential of an upgrade for a while now. So I think what has happened since the upgrade is just a digestion. If you're eating a wonderful meal, you need time to digest the news. You need to, 2025 was just a spectacular year for Vietnam.
Isn't it?
And by the way, even if you took the FTSE upgrade aside, this country has achieved so much in terms of our political stability,
Yep.
our economic inflection. The SSC, Madam Phuong and her team have done spectacular things improving the market. So even without the FTSE upgrade, I would say this has been nothing short of just a home run year for Vietnam. And I think, the market now just needs time to digest that. In many ways, I think the market needs a rest, because actually markets shooting up constantly is not a good thing. So my humble opinion is, the Vietnam market is doing exactly what it needs to do, which is digest all the good news and frankly prepare for more good news to come. I know it's hard because as retail investors, we're very short term and we don't have the bigger picture. I'm actually super happy and super excited that our market's going nowhere right now. Because if you're a long-term investor, this is exactly what you want, what you need, and what you had hoped for. Going back to you though, so based on, I mean, you've upgraded other countries, other markets. This story that we're talking about, this reaction of markets, from your just experience, normal, like there's nothing wrong with a market that even goes down after the upgrade.
No,
Okay.
I mean, absolutely. Well, I wouldn't comment on the performance, but I think the market goes ups and downs. Upgrade is always a good story.
Yeah.
Right? It's actually, endorsing all the changes has gone through, heading to the right direction. So upgrade is a great story.
I'll throw one scenario at you that's kind of ridiculous, is that might we look back someday and saying, I wish I was a big boy in frontier versus a little boy in emerging markets?
Okay, when you put it in that context, I'm telling you, in the world, there's little money tracking frontier
Yes.
indices,
Yes.
right? But there are significant amount of AUM money tracking emerging market portfolios. What that means is Vietnam elevated from a bucket where little money invests to it into this kind of gigantic pool of capitals where they can continue to kind of support the growth, the resiliency of the reform.
Yeah.
I would say absolutely it's a good thing.
I
And
agree.
it's long term.
I agree. And so I think for our listeners who may not be as familiar with the data, based on estimates that I have looked into recently, the money chasing frontier markets versus and the money chasing emerging markets is somewhere between 15 to 20 times bigger than frontier market. That's the estimates that I've seen at. Does that feel right to you?
I mean, there's just
more than-
little money tracking frontier.
Okay.
EM is it's a
Okay.
different ball game.
So if those estimates are correct, again simplifying it, if for every dollar that's chasing a frontier market, there's probably $20 to $25 chasing emerging markets.
And that's why Vietnam trying to get, has been determined to get to EM.
Okay.
Because partly not just for the capital, but really opening up in the way that foreign investors can come to the market and invest, easily.
Yes.
So I think the upgrade is not just about the capital.
Yeah.
It's about the facility here, infrastructure here, up to the best practice globally. We need to look at this long term for sure. This isn't a one point of a change.
Yeah.
This is like generation kind of endorsement in terms of the changes.
Yes. I want to pick up on that a little bit because I think one of the things that we are observing at SSI, and I've discussed this with you also, is since the upgrade, there, I would call there's been a descending, if that's the right word, of the global financial ecosystem onto Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the average investor probably hasn't really picked up on that yet because they're not going to see the result of that for maybe, let's say 6, 12, 24 months. But the truth is there's a global, is that the right word, descending? Almost they're coming into Vietnam, building infrastructure with people like SSI, our competitors, our regulators, to prepare for all the capital that's going to flow into this country. So again, maybe going back to that, to that concern that I had about markets, short-term concerns, I just think that my one message to investors who are listening to this is that there's a tsunami coming, in my view, and it might happen 12, 24, 36 months out, but it doesn't matter because this has been the tipping point. If you can just kind of roadmap the next 12 months, through the lens of FTSE, what investors should be expecting, sort of the cadence of events, I think that would be helpful to our listeners.
Okay, so obviously the immediate 12 months
Yeah.
is our role SSC investors, market participants,
Yeah.
is to make sure this kind of implementation happen
Yeah.
and also happen smoothly.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a March checkpoint. So we're going to confirm, the implementation time.
Okay.
Have a guess.
20.
Then it's March,
Okay.
then September when we started to implement as per, confirmation by
Will there be an official announcement in March?
yes.
I mean, to the market, just like you,
To the
like
market.
an interim update of some
Yes.
sort?
So there will be confirmation in March and then confirmation in terms of the number of tranches. And the official day as per the confirmation would, let's say, from September 2026.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
Because we don't come into a market, upgrade, and then we leave.
Yes. Yeah.
We actually work and together with the market to go for even like a better or longer journey in terms of continue open up, continue to increase that accessibility. So there are a number of things we're working kind of together with the regulator on the infrastructure, but also with the exchange on really bringing more products to Vietnam. If you look at the market space product offering in Vietnam, it's still very simple and little.
Exactly.
Right? I think that to me is even bigger part of the impact that we're gonna bring in as an index provider. We're not just here to rate you. We're not just here to mark you. We actually wanted to grow with the market. And I think that's even more exciting.
Again, I want to touch on that because I think so much of the focus on our market has been about access. And FTSE has been magical in helping Vietnam move through that curve.
Really, we're here to, together with the market, regulators, really opening the doors for foreign investors to come in. And we are here also to kind of upgrade the whole market in terms of product offering, in terms of greater access. So yeah, we're here for a long time.
So March interim, there'll be an announcement, basically a confirmation whether we're on track for the actual September. There will be commentary about tranches.
Yeah.
My bet, I know nothing. I know nothing. You haven't said anything to me, and I know you won't, even though I will beg you. My bet is we're like 3 or 4 tranches. Please don't do 10 because it'd be kind of boring. So we'll see how that goes. But then so just help me. What happens in September? I mean, will there be some another big announcement, or we just get implemented? Just help us go through physically how that feels.
So the reason why September, because FTSE runs a review cycle.
Got it.
So the global benchmark is typically done March and September.
Yeah.
So September, ahead of the review, will publish a list of names.
Yes.
That potentially come into the index.
Ahead of September, there will
Ahead
be
of
a list.
September,
Okay.
about a month before, we'll publish the names.
And is that a big event for the
That's
market?
a big event for the market.
So,
as you said, we're the teacher, right? We're going to publish the official names that potentially come into the index. For other markets, they will be out as well, but Vietnam, obviously, brand new market. So we'll publish the name we call the constituent additions.
Don't we kind of know those names already?
But because they're based on different cutoff days, different cutoff days.
Okay,
So
it
may impact the size.
Okay.
And then also we need to test the liquidity and every other criteria. So the name will be refreshed.
And frankly, those names ultimately is where the money flows into.
The rebound day.
The rebound day. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. I mean, it's quite obvious, but I want to make sure that I was not missing something here.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing right now, Wanming, is the market doesn't seem, maybe it's happening and I'm not aware of it because I'm not aware of everything, but the market doesn't seem particularly focused on what those names might be. Maybe because they're going to be so obvious.
Yeah, we already actually published those names on the indicative level.
But is there value? I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is that indicative level and the ultimate actual level. Could there be much differential between those two?
Hopefully not, because I guess I can't say it because it depends how the market moves.
Of course, okay.
The outcome could be. but I wouldn't say dramatically different.
Okay.
And then the reason why we do so far in advance, again, we don't like surprises. We don't want to provide surprises to the market. Market should be always been aware what's happening.
Yeah.
Ahead of the index rebound. And our methodology in terms of how you choose the stocks coming into the index, transparent.
Okay.
So everyone can actually replicate. That's the idea, transparent, and you can actually read the rules and understand, okay, this is what FTSE do.
So you've mapped this out the next 12 months. Helping us focus on the priorities and helping investors come in and out of Vietnam more smoothly. But I think so much more focus also needs to be put on to the product side. Now you're talking index products.
Yep.
I'm talking about the simple things. We need more stocks that are listed on the exchange.
Yeah, IPOs.
IPOs.
Yeah. I agree.
Yes. So far, we're seeing an improvement in that. You probably,
I've seen
TCBS, VPBS, and VPS. Is that right?
And there's many more to come.
There's so many more to come. I mean, our pipeline at SI is just bursting, actually.
Yeah.
I would like to see more diversity into the marketplace. I mean, I'm so happy that we have 3 brokerages that are listed or that are IPO'd now, but I'd like to see more than just brokerages.
Other sectors.
Other sectors. I would like to see more foreign participation. And in fact, I think that's one area where I still see it's quite narrow, the foreign participation. But I think hopefully over time that broadens out. Is that right?
And that's what we are here for.
Good.
Timing cannot be better.
Why is
for
that?
us?
Yeah.
So there's, we mentioned about in 2025 is super important.
Yes.
Not only the regulator achieved the technical requirement, but if you look at the tariff, the outcome, if you look at the, we talk about the government leadership stabilized.
Yeah.
And then also even the liquidity has now come out on top in terms of the ASEAN markets. And then also the GDP, I mean, such an envious number, if you even look at globally. So I would say 2025 is super important for Vietnam. We couldn't come in at a better time. And even on top of that, you guys celebrated the 80 years of independence this year.
Yeah.
25 years of the capital market also this year.
Yeah.
Now you can add to another special celebration going forward is the emerging market upgrade, also in 2025.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, 2025 again was just a blowout year for this country. Is that right? And I don't know if you caught it, but my friends over at CICC last night released a note on Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I actually seen it.
Yeah.
So I'm
again highlighting Vietnam as the rising star growing. I think they're expecting like 7% next year.
Yeah.
It seems probably slightly conservative to me, but we're still the leader in terms of growth.
I spent so many times in the past 1.5 years or even 2 years coming to Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, even went to Da Nang once. And I really get to know the country, outside of work.
Yeah.
Bring it back to Hanoi, I actually spent quite a number of trips.
Yeah.
I actually came here so many times, and I often stay in the old quarter of the town. Over the past 1.5 years, I'm seeing more and more international brands taking over the street.
Yeah.
This is absolutely stunning,
Yeah.
in terms of seeing the change, the fast changing, and really integrating, into the world. Now, I mean, that's really one part of Vietnam that I'm so impressed. Now, sometimes when you come to this part of the town, this really, it blows my mind in terms of we still having this kind of traditional Vietnam where people sometimes may forget, looking at, what's happening in the other side of the town. And I would say, as a foreigner, this is really gonna stay with me.
And so, as I was riding through the streets this morning on a motorcycle, and it was, the sun was coming up, I was so filled with emotion in terms of how do I describe this to somebody who's never seen it.
Yeah.
How would you do it? I'm putting you on the spot, but how would you describe the magic of Hanoi to somebody who's never been here.
The old and the new,
Yeah, yeah.
they actually blend in together.
Interesting, because again, as I was contemplating riding my bike and hoping that I didn't get killed, I'm a Southern boy. But every time I'm here in Hanoi, I just feel like it touches my soul in a way that it's hard for me to describe. And I'm a man of words. I love selecting words that describe something.
So how would you describe Hanoi? One word for Hanoi and one word.
It is for me. It's surreal. Every time I'm here, I feel like I'm sort of lost in a scene of a movie that, yeah, it's funny that we're being filmed at this moment, but every time I'm here, I feel like I'm in a scene of a movie, even when we're not filming. Whether I'm walking around the lake or whether I'm walking down a ham or whether I'm sitting here and the steam is coming off of the food, it's just, it's surreal. It's like a dream to me, and as often as I come here, every time I'm here, it feels like it's the first time.
Yeah.
There's just something magical about this place. So, but anyway, food's
Okay,
here.
tell me what
So-
it is and how do I go
So
about
look, I
this?
think this when I think of Hanoi, and of course the Hanoians will yell at me because their food is so diverse. But I think about 3 dishes. That's really captured me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like some of the places where, you completely ditch the old and then, out with the new.
Yeah.
This is a blend of international, local, the old and the new,
Yeah.
the luxury, and then is the day-to-day basics. The most delicious
Yeah.
dish. Actually, the most delicious dish that I ever had is in Vietnam.
You know how much of that I predicted and planned? 0. But I came back to Vietnam in a time where global investors matter, okay? Where the little bit of knowledge I have about the world is helpful to our regulators, is helpful to my firm. Hopefully it's helpful to you along the way. And so I think it's, I can't believe this has happened to me, actually.
Yeah.
So, and I think the last thing I would share with you on that is I think a lot of people, will view me because of my age and experience coming back as a teacher and things I can do for this country. You know what? There's so much that this country is doing for me. I feel like I'm a total student. I actually feel like I'm learning new things, but a lot of things that I thought I knew, I have to relearn because you have to relearn it Vietnam style.
Yeah.
I'll give you one basic analogy. It's kind of like driving a car all your life. So you walk in a car, you turn it on, and you drive, and you never think about the brakes, the suspension, the wheels, and you go back to Vietnam, and you walk into an office, and somebody says, "And Tom, could you explain to me why the wheel system looks like this?" Okay? And even though Tom has spent 58 years of his life in a car driving it, I have to now learn about it. So to me, that's the magic of coming back here at my
Yeah,
age. Does that explain this to you?
Yes. You know what, Tom? I think things are working out for Vietnam.
So look, I think in closing, I think it's ironic, very ironic, but I think it's perfect that we're having a meal together on Thanksgiving.
Oh, today is
If you
Thanksgiving.
think about it,
Oh,
is that-
happy Thanksgiving.
and so I think in closing, I would say to you that it's ironic. It wasn't planned, but as I was driving over here this morning, I guess I have to say to you this is I am deeply grateful to you, deeply grateful to FTSE. I still don't believe that Vietnam and all of us truly have understood what a gift this has been to us. And you used the word that I picked up, generational. This is generational. This is not about how the markets trade in November, December, or even the next 12 months. What has happened to Vietnam is generational. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I thank you because I know you've not only as part of your organization, but individually, as much as I've known you, have put so much of your energy and your emotion and your spirit into this. And I just hope everyone is as grateful to you as I am today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah.